All right, let's turn to politics now. We're going to look at how the 2016 race is starting to shape up. And we got one announcement. We'll get to that one that we heard yesterday in a moment. But let's start with Ms. Hillary Clinton. She hasn't announced, but she's sure got friends in high places. She and the president had a hush-hush meeting in the White House yesterday. White House said they discussed, quote, a range of topics. You fill that one in. What will the relationship look like between now and Election Day? Dominic, as you know, it's always about politics of convenience on how people can use another. Do it from both sides. What does Hillary want from Obama, and what does Obama want from Hillary?
Well, on a personal level, I don't think they're the best of fans of each other, but they need each other. They can both go down as history makers. Obama won round one. Hillary can win round two, first black president, first woman president. They head off into the sunset. What they need from each other, Obama has to deliver the loyal Democratic base for Hillary. And remember, she's going to be scared to death, Richard, because of what happened the first time with Obama. It's got to be deja vu for her all over again. Hillary's unbeatable, you know, on all page one of all the magazines and so on. And then this upstart black guy out of Illinois comes out of nowhere, where I didn't even think he could win, and he pulls it off. So her and Bill have got to be worried about that. So she needs Obama to not abandon her, not wink, wink, nod, nod to Elizabeth Warren or someone else that may be in the race. The same way that Bill Clinton, when Obama was on the ropes, when the Republicans had him on the ropes, he can deny it all he wants to. Who came to his rescue?
And
Bill
Charlotte,
Clinton.
I was there. But Andrew, you can make the argument that little things. Valerie Jarrett, rumored to be, not confirmed, the leaker of the story about Hillary's emails that stayed here. It's more than just, you know, parlor talk. There is not trust between the two camps. But what does the president want from her? And does he give her daylight on issues where she can disagree with him on foreign policy without them saying, you know, oh, you're not with me, then you're against me?
He's going to have to give her daylight. She's going to find it either way. She's going to have to separate herself from the president on a few key issues. And if they were smart, and if you like a conspiracy theory, and I do, maybe they're plotting out a couple of policy areas where the president will propose something specifically so she can trash it, so that she can get that distance from him without necessarily hurting the overall cause of the policy itself. He needs her to win so that she can continue a lot of the policies that he's put into place. If she doesn't win, let's assume that she's the Democratic nominee. If she doesn't win, Obamacare is gone. I mean, the Congress, assuming it's still Republican, will repeal it, and a Republican in the White House will sign it. So he needs her to win. He doesn't need a whole lot more than that. She needs some room away from him.
So we pivot from the Democrats to the Republicans, and I'm not asking you to be the pom-pom wearer for one Ted Cruz, but if you saw the Times today, the lead editorial reminded viewers, or readers I should say, to imagine a Ted Cruz as president. Now, imagine was one of the key talking points that Ted Cruz used at Liberty University when he went through his announcement yesterday that he was running for office. They say, though, that Cruz doesn't leave much to the imagination, and all you have to do is take a listen to his own words about what he's all about.
The Obama-Clinton foreign policy of leading from behind. The whole world's on fire.
Back in the 70s, I remember the 70s, we were told there was global cooling. And everyone was told global cooling was a really big problem, and then that faded. And then we were told by Al Gore and others there was global warming, and that was going to be a big problem. And then it morphed. It wasn't global warming anymore. It became climate change.
And there's more. So the question I asked these guys yesterday is, whatever we may think, and Peter King said yesterday, you know, that a guy reading Dr. Seuss here and shutting the government down, you know, is a cartoon character, not a real credible candidate. He's got that Tea Party base here that's going to keep him, let's say, fluid throughout the election, or at least throughout the primary process. How much should Republicans be worried that it's going to be a byplay of 4 and 8 years ago all over again, and that he's going to take the party too far to the right, that even if you win, it's a Pyrrhic victory come the general?
I think they should be a little concerned. He does not have a chance to win. I mean, ultimately, I think he's a self-centered, bright guy who just is ambitious. But it's not, I don't think, sellable in the broader context. But what it does do, I think, is it puts Huckabee and others who are the conservative in a really tight position because they're going to have to distinguish themselves somehow to his far right thing. I don't think the Tea Party has that power anymore. I think it's very, I mean,
so
Texas,
these purity tests that we saw before, you don't think they're going to be as real this time around?
I don't, because he gets the blame for shutting down government, okay, and that's Tea Party, and Republicans across the board are going to have to run away from that in order to get, back to the point that we can run.
Right.
However, I do think Hillary Clinton just scored enormous points by his entering the race. He becomes the foil. He becomes the foil for others too. So he had to come out now because he has no real credibility in terms of face time with most people. So I agree with those folks who says he should, but he cannot win. This is not Goldwater all over again.
Well, that's a perfect segue, Andrew, to give an idea, if Ted Cruz were to have a credible chance, how the math works. I'm not talking poll numbers, I'm talking cold, hard cash.
Well, you said one of the reasons why he needs to get in is for political support. I think the other argument is that he needs money, and he needs a ton of it. If you go back to 2012, President Obama spent $1.1 billion to win re-election. Romney spent just over $1 billion trying to unseat the president. So for 2016, best guess is Hillary's going to try to raise about $1.8 billion. So let's take that as our measuring stick for what any challenger, including Cruz, would have to raise. Assuming that Cruz is starting with zero, he or anybody else is going to need to raise all this money, the $1.8 billion. Cruz is going to have to raise $90 million every single month, or $21.4 million every week between now and the election. Makes for some busy days. Cruz is going to need a little over $3 million every day to match Hillary. That's $126,000 every hour, including the hour that he's at home watching RFL. It's about $2,100 a minute, every minute of every hour of every day, Rich. $2,100 every minute.
But Richard, I don't think, the only reason why I think that's skewed and off, Ted Cruz won't need what a traditional Republican will need, because all he has to do is give red meat to the base, say outrageous things, as he's already indicated. And the Tea Party crowd
but the
will come up with
argument
somebody
was
for
made
him.
the same thing about Romney, and he ended up raising and spending almost as much as the president because he had to. I mean, at a certain point, it's not free media anymore, especially when you're in the New Hampshires or the Iowas or wherever it is, the South Carolinas. They got to spend this money, even if it's on the non-traditional stuff, as these online campaigns. I mean, I don't think people fully grasp how obscenely expensive these elections are going to be. And it's not just in the general, it's going to be in the primary too. We're going to be so oversaturated with this stuff, and I know we're guilty of it too. We're talking about it. Here we are, not even in April here, but it's already starting.
Well, it is, and we're going to get tired of it, I
Yes.
think, before long. But he does, as Dominic says, he provides the red meat that gets a few people to watch him. But if you listen to Republicans on the Hill, he's not one of their favorite, and he really hasn't accomplished very much. So he's big on talking, but he hasn't gained, I think, any traction in terms of real accomplishment. And I think when you get a Jeb Bush, you get some of these other fellows in there. Marco Rubio is going to be somebody people are watching. And others. I think he will fade, and he will fade, I think, probably in the money raising, although he'll still throw his bombs out there, to get attention.
But keep in mind, Ted Cruz is a fire starter. I mean, that's what he does. He lights stuff on fire, and then he waits for other people to put it out, including government shutdowns. He's one of the most hated Republicans in the Senate, but he's sort of beloved by a small group in the House, and that's one of the problems for your party, is that there is a percentage of people who look back on the government shutdown and say, Ted Cruz was absolutely right. And there is that small group that backs him. And a candidate has to risk alienating that group of voters if they're going to take him on and challenge him. They have to handle him very carefully.
When we come back, we will stay with politics, but much closer to home. And sometimes it sure does make strange bedfellows as politics. We're going to tell you how Bill de Blasio and Rudy Giuliani, yes, those two guys are teaming up to take on the guy in the middle of your screen, Governor Andrew Cuomo.